Hello everybody, welcome to my tutorial on creating musical ideas. Let's get started. Okay, so after you've logged in, you're going to be on the account section of the page, which is what I'm looking at right here. Most of the time the username is a pre-made username when you log in with your school district account, so it's probably something like you and then a string of numbers. None of this is too important to us at this point. As I've pointed out before, there are two ways to enter the studio and actually start making music. There's the studio button up here in the top next to discover and collaborate. There's also the enter studio button right beneath my projects. While we're here, I do also want to point out the my project section. So every time you save a project in Soundtrap, it's going to show up here. This is where you're going to be able to download and share projects. So let's get started with setting up a loop. Clicking music, because we're not doing a podcast. So we have our blank window here. I would usually call this the arrangement view because this is where we're going to be arranging ideas. So not writing ideas, but arranging them. Start by clicking add a new track. You can either do it here or here. And we're going to do drums and beats. When we're doing other creative practices, we will probably use other instruments too. So we have, again, our instrument here. Down at the bottom, we have the step sequencer. We talked about this in class, how each one of these blocks is equal to a 16th note. So keep that in mind when you're working. Next, we need to turn on loop mode and set a 1-bar loop. So you can do that either by clicking the cycle button or the cycle mode on/off button up here by the music notes. And you should also be able to just double click on it so it turns purple. If it's purple, it's on. If it's gray, it's off. So you do want it to be on. And then we're gonna take this bar right here from the end, we're gonna drag it all the way down so it hits 2. All right, so now we have just a 1-bar loop. I would say at least 90% of our creating practice exercises that we're going to do are going to be based on 1-bar loops. So this should be how every exercise begins. Now that we have our workplace set up, we need to talk about the common pattern, what that means, and how to figure out what the common pattern is for your specific common pattern practice. So this is the Motivation High Music Department website. I should have links to this in various places around the Google Classroom, but I'm gonna start posting this in the with the assignment so you can get to some of the information I'll be posting here. Today we just need to look at the Create tab, since this is our creating practice. So below, you should be able to see right here the common pattern idea pool. So I'm going to have a common pattern in this section for each one of the creating exercises. There's different tabs for different instruments or different kinds of ideas. The common pattern includes the name, a code so we can quickly identify files that are using that common pattern, then what it would look like in Soundtrap, and then I do also have what it looks like in music notation. So now that we have our common pattern, in this case it's the kick on 1 or KOO, we're going to go back to Soundtrap and we're going to make our variations. Now that we have our common pattern code, let's create that pattern in Soundtrap. So the key to the common pattern idea is that every variation has to include the common pattern. In our case, it was the kick on 1. I even included a image of this, so it should start exactly like this. Now we have our first pattern. So I'm going to press play. We have that going on a loop. So to start creating some variations, I am going to first change the sound. So I'll click here where it says machines, and I'll be able to pick a new drum kit. You can listen to previews. I'm going to try that one. All right, so I can also, here I can change the tempo, which is the speed. Let's try 146, a little faster. And now I can start adding in other notes. All right, so now I've got a little drum loop. I'm just kind of clicking things around until it sounds the way I want it to. So I've got my first pattern. Great. So I'm going to go up here, File, click Save As, and we're going to call this, we have a format for labeling our tracks. So first it's your name, so I can tell whose file it is. Then it's the common pattern code. So that's just going to be an acronym based on the common pattern name. So in our case, it's KOO. And since this is the first time that I've done this, it's going to be a 1. And this is my first variation, so 0.1. And here we go. So you can see up here it says mixing. So that means that I can't download it right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start making my next variation. So as long as I don't click File, Save, I'm not going to overwrite anything I just did. I'm just going to start changing things. I'm going to take out some notes. I'm going to change the pattern to maybe this one. We're going to change our tempo down to much slower tempo. And I'm going to add a little reverb. Let's try that. Cool. All right. So I got another little variation there. So I've got 2 beats ready. So what I'll do now, File, Save As, call it 1.2. Click OK. Saving. Great. And then I'm just going to keep doing that until I get to 1.5. Before I show you how to export and turn in your assignment, we're going to just do a quick tutorial on how to do this for iPad or phone. So I'm in the Soundtrap app. I've picked a blank template, and I'm going to click the Add New Track button. This is all exactly the same as the computer, or very close. So we're going to click Drums and Beats. So that gives us the instrument view. So when I tap the drums, that you hear the sound. We're going to set our loop bar to 1 bar, just like we did before. And this time we need to play the common pattern, which is kick on 1. So if you hear that click, it's the higher pitch is always beat 1. So you can see me right now, I was just playing that common pattern, and now I'm adding in a variation. But it still has the kick as the first sound, so it fits with our common pattern idea. We're also going to add, there's a feature here called live quantization. So you can see it's checked right now. I'm going to turn it off for a second, then turn it back on. There should be a check next to that. You do want live quantization on, and we're going to set it to 1/8. So what that does is it makes sure that whatever you play, it's gonna turn out in time by locking it into the grid. So a couple of my notes might have actually been a little bit offbeat, but live quantization is gonna turn it into something that locks right to the tempo. After that, you would just go File, Save As, same as before, call it your name, pattern code, and 1 point, whichever number you're at. I've made several of these so far, so I'm going to call mine 1.5 and press OK. There you go. So now we're going to head back and learn how to export. So after doing several of these, I've got a number of files. You should only have 5. What you're going to want to do to turn these in, these two are both ready because I made them earlier. You're going to click on the track and click download. And that should just show up in your downloads folder. The other way you can do that is you can click share project and copy the link. So you would just highlight the whole thing, or Control A usually works, then Control C to copy. And then you would be able to attach either the file itself or the link in the student work section of your Google Classroom assignment. So let's actually look at that Google Classroom assignment if we can. It is going to look a little bit different for you. I'm going to pick one of my classes at random here. So we're going to go to the assignment. It will be under the creating tab here. So this was our first one. I can go view assignment and student work, and then from here you should be able to actually see where you can attach your assignments. So I'm gonna pick one as an example here. So I'm gonna blank out whoever's name this is, but you can see that they have 5 files all clearly posted. I can listen through them really quickly. It's a great way to do this and turn it in, but this would be like an A+ assignment. And that is the format that we're going to use for every creating practice. It's going to go exactly like that. It might just be a different pattern. So it might be a snare drum pattern, hi-hat pattern. Maybe it'll be piano or something else. But all of our creating practices are going to follow that format. So hopefully that helps. Please let me know if you have any questions.